This week, Boys Toys takes off with the paragliders of the Cumbria Soaring Club, and there'll be a chance to win a parachute jump in our competition. So what makes people want to paraglide?
If you've ever had a childhood dream and you ran along and you zoomed off the ground, that is what paragliding is.
It's a mix of everything, really. You've got all the emotions that you can feel all together in the same bundle.
It's just a place you can't go, you know, with anything else apart from aircraft, and paragliding is just a great way of getting up there. It's just an awesome buzz.
Who wants to walk up a mountain when you can soar around with the eagles?
When you're just sitting under a paraglider with strings holding you up, you're so exposed. It's the ultimate, really.
It's like literally sitting in a swing, wind blowing your face, okay? Okay, you look down, you're 500 feet off the ground, so whoa!
Why worry about what kind of car you own when you can own a glider and fly around like this, you know? It's getting high up here, and what better? It's a beautiful day for flying.
The experts make it look so easy, but where do you start? And how long will it take to learn? Ask your instructor.
The first time you do it, you run down a hill, a gentle slope, suddenly you feel yourself being pulled off the ground, your feet leave the ground, and you zoom along in that dream state. I mean, it really is. And I have the fortunate position of being able to give people that every day.
Launching! Okay, so just lift your hands, let them go, turn, and off you go. See how much calmer that was? Keep running. Oh, you little cheat. All right, you can sit back and relax, David. And away you go. That's brilliant, mate. And when you're ready, you can just cross your legs and get comfy. That's good. Remember, the glider will damp most things out for you. You don't need to correct it all the time. Good stuff. This chap's David from Carlisle. He's an airline pilot by profession, and his hobbies are flying proper gliders, and he's done quite a bit of hang gliding. So he's got a bit of knowledge of the sport already. He's only actually on his first day and he's doing fantastic. He's certainly getting his money's worth today, that's for sure. Andy on the one over there, Andy's learnt in New Zealand when he was on a world tour last year and got qualified over there. Because of the nature of flying in the UK, we get a lot more wind in this country, so you need to know a lot more about flying on a slope where the wind's blowing up it and being cautious. You know, you're always going into wind, so you go nice and slow. We need to teach him things like coming back and landing here on top and landing on the slope if he loses his height. So Andy basically needs about a couple of days to get him up to sort of a British standard of flying. Then you've got posers like Martin here. He's a local pilot, works in Fishers. He'll do anything to get on camera. Yeah, and Martin's been flying for about, it must be over 10 years now Martin's been flying. So you just, you know, you've got a real spread really, and to learn to fly, what happens is in your initial sort of 4 days deal with just learning to control the canopy, being able to get to a level where you could fly down and land at the bottom of the hill in a nice, safe, controlled manner. Once you've got those skills and ability, we try and introduce the soaring side of things, which is what the sport's all about. I mean, nobody wants to carry it up the hill and end up back down the bottom in a couple of minutes. When we're good pilots, we're up there for many hours and often fly long distances. So the second course we do, which is another 4 days, is the club pilot course, and that gets people to a level where they become confident with soaring, so they can take off on a hill like this, fly around all day, land whenever they wish to back here, and above all else, do it safely. So there's things to know, like knowing about the weather and site assessment, you know, if there was power lines down there, making sure you're aware of them. And that's pretty well how it works, really. So 8 days and away you go. You know, you join your local club and you're off doing it by yourself.
Once you're hooked, the next thing to think about is what you'll need to fly like a bird. It's probably the cheapest form of aviation, but you will need the right kit.
The three basic things you need are essentially a helmet, a harness and a glider. There are tons of ancillaries. Well, you've got radios, we've got flying instruments with combined GPSs, which tell you how fast you're going, how high you're climbing, and what your climb rate is. Speed bars, drink systems, carabiners, and across for the flying suits, which keep the worst of the British weather off. The harness is essentially the thing you sit in when you fly. We've got 3 of them here, which to sort of demonstrate. They go from like the ultra lightweight, things like this, which is a Super Altirando, which is 2 kilos. It's very lightweight. It's got a ram air back protector there, and it actually turns inside out and converts to the bag that you carry all the kit up. That's sort of the more extreme, lightweight end of the spectrum. The majority of pilots fly in something a tad more protective and a tad more comfortable, something like a Genie 3, which is essentially a little bit heavier, about 5.5 kilos, but at the same time, bags of back protection, reserves, under-seat reserve system, really comfortable, like sitting in the car seat, it's really, really comfortable. At the sort of competition end of the spectrum, things like the Advanced Impress, where you're actually totally enclosed, it's most aerodynamic you can get, very small back protection, so to be more aerodynamic, pretty heavy, at weighing in with a reserve at about 10 kilos, and a very, very reclined seating position. Just essentially so you cut through the air. But obviously when you're starting out, this isn't really an option. It's a bit like buying a Ferrari to go to school with. What you really need is something like one of the recreational ones like this. So this is a sort of a good example of a first harness. New harnesses are around the £300 to £400 mark. Second hand, £100 buys you a good 5-year-old harness. Gliders wise, new from about 1800, second hand from about 500 for something that's been checked and effectively is safe to fly. So how much it costs is certainly a bit open-ended, like a lot of sports nowadays. The only thing I would recommend definitely buying new is helmets, and I would definitely recommend buying one new. You can either have something like open face like that, which is quite light and airy, they go from about £40, or something more like a full face, which is like this, which is very similar to sort of a motorcycling helmet, which offers a lot more protection, but they are a touch more expensive and a touch more bulky.
Safety is important.
One of the explanations when people say to me, oh, I bet it's dangerous. Well, it's as dangerous as you make it. I mean, again, another good way of thinking is if you drive a car, you know, you can drive it as dangerously as you want, you know, young lad, flat out everywhere, handbraking around every corner, you know, it's only a matter of time before you're going to get crunched. And it's the same with this. If you come with that attitude of like, yeehaw, you know, extreme and what have you, you're probably not going to be in the sport for very long before you'll have either a very big scare or a bad accident. Because of that, it's quite strange really, but most of the people who are into this sport generally are the older people, the people who've got the sensible head on the shoulders and actually can conduct it in a safe manner, and therefore they do it for many, many years, and they're not flying around scared out the wits, you know, they're quite relaxed with it. So, you know, like driving your car safely, you know, we might all take the mick out of the granddad going slow, but he's probably never going to crash, whereas us guys trying to desperately get past him are the ones what are, you know, stuck at the side of the road in a hedge somewhere. So yeah, it's just that. It's just psychology really, just keeping it safe and you will be safe. It's easy to learn. I mean, I could put a bag of potatoes on there and the weight would make it fly beautifully, almost better than a lot of the pilots at times.
But even a bag of spuds needs the right wing.
The wings themselves range from beginners gliders right up to competition spec ones. Initially, a beginner's looking for easy handling, easy launching, and more than anything, stability within the glider. They've evolved from parachutes. They're developed more and more to give glide and speed over safe descent. They're essentially all made out of a ripstop nylon cloth. They have no solid parts in, and they're held essentially by the internal pressure of the air inside them. You're suspended via these lines. They look very flimsy and looks like you're not supported by very much, but each one of these lines will easily take my body weight. They'll break at about 100 kilos, and you have an awful lot of them on a glider. And this essentially is what you hang off. You control the actual way the glider flies by the brakes, which control the trailing edge, pull down the trailing edge and slow it down, and of course by weight shifting through the harness. And that causes the whole glider to essentially roll and bank, and that's essentially how we fly them.
It is an awesome experience.
It's a lot smoother and a lot quieter than you probably think, The views are great as you climb out in a thermal, turning round inside the lifting air. It's just incredible. And then you land, you pack the thing up and you go home. It's fantastic.
Over 80 gliders take to the air in the Lakes Classic. It's the event of the year.
Yes, which tells me where I am and where I'm heading. And this is the video. This tells me how fast I'm going up, where the best lift is and which way I should turn in order to keep going up.
It's the latest glider. It's got lots of performance and it'll fly really fast. The downside of it is that it's slightly more unstable than a beginner glider, for instance. So like this glider will fly 60, 65 k's an hour at full speed, which is pretty quick.
It's not just a case of heading straight off.
I'll just soar around here for maybe 20 minutes till I get a really strong thermal that comes through. Just the thermal, just a hot bubble of rising air. We fly into that and turn around in circles and try and stay in it. That'll eventually take us up to cloud base. I'll fly in a straight line towards Newcastle in the hope of picking up another thermal, and then same again back up to cloud base, and it's just a series of hops and glides. And hopefully, after about 4 hours, I'll be there.
I've got every confidence in him landing in Newcastle, or he might actually be able to cross the North Sea, so we'll see how we go.
Martin made it to cloud level, but not to Newcastle. He eventually landed in Caldbeck, some 15 kilometres away. More advanced pilots love the challenge of chasing thermals and staying airborne for as long as possible. Most weekends, the Cumbria Soaring Club hosts competitive events. They organise a paragliding challenge.
This is a race to goal. By that, I don't mean it's timed here to time to goal. I mean it's the first into goal, the second into goal, the third. It's the position you arrive in goal, not the elapsed time. Race to goal.
These are small club competitions. This is basically the Yorkshire Dale Paragliding Club, the Pennine Club, the Cumbria Soaring Club, and we just come up here and do small tasks.
We've been trying to get a task in for the last 6 weeks. It's the first time I've ever done a competition. Really, it was to push me on to try and improve my flying. That was my motivation for doing it. I don't think I'm going to help the team in any way, but yeah, I'm tail end Charlie, so I enjoy it. Hopefully, I'll learn something.
This is more than just flying for fun.
It's like a 3D chess game in the air. Initially, you know, it just looks like somebody's flying on a hillside and it's quite simple. And when they get into the competition flying, it's very similar to a sailing race where you start from a certain position and go around set turn points to a goal. What at first seems quite scary ends up being, you know, it becomes second nature. And that's how you develop the skills. You just get more and more into it, you know. The more time you are in the saddle, the better you become. Week when we have a competition here, there'll be 80-90 pilots here trying to all fly a set route, and it becomes really good fun then when you fly with your mates doing that.
A week on, and the biggest event of the paragliding year.
Welcome to the 2006 Lakes Charity Classic.
Okay, that's the charity we're supporting this year.
The aim, fun and fundraising.
Lakes Charity Classics managed to raise in excess of £19,000.
Cumbria is the ideal venue.
One of the things it does boast is that we are spoilt for choice of sites. We are in the Lake District, we've got hills everywhere, and thankfully a lot of them lie east-west anyway, so that does help us. We want to pick the best sites for the competitors. We wait to see what the weather gods tell us and then we go.
But the weather gods, it seems, are not listening, and the organisers have to change their plans.
This is as you know, it's a paragliding cross-country competition. So the idea is that we're going to take off from here, fly to another location, and today, because the conditions aren't perfect, instead of just a straightforward race, it's actually going to be what they call elapsed time, which basically means that the person who goes from here to the goal field in the least amount of time is the winner. So this type of task is ideal to allow the pilots to get the most that they can out of what's not necessarily a good day. So if you're a little canny and you hang back a little bit, you can watch them out front and see who's doing best and then make your decision accordingly. So yes, it is very much like a chess game, and it's part of the fun, you know, it's what makes us tick.
Over 80 pilots from all over the country were, over the 2 days of the event, able to make the most of what were far from ideal flying conditions. Although the cloud remained low, spirits remained high. But on the second day, one pilot got it wrong and landed heavily.
What had happened is the pilot's either taken off and moved and banged into the ground, but anyway, he's hit the ground, and he is now possibly broken his wrist.
Couldn't it? If he just done his wrist, that's not too bad, really.
Unfortunately, these things can happen. It's a very benign sport when it's nice, but you know, the ground hurts, and we always got to be aware of that. You don't often get second chances with it. It is an extreme sport.
Accidents are rare, and the pilot was not seriously hurt, but the organisers decided no more flying, it was time to party. As dusk descended, there was the serious business of the evening, the prize giving, the drinking, and of course the cheque presentation. £1,000 to the Northern Air Ambulance.
Very, very much.
For 2 days, local filmmaker and keen paragliding pilot Scotty had been filming the action to present to the organisers. He knows the buzz that this sport can give.
The lusty, decadent delights of Imperial Pompeii.
Notify ground crews.
I used to have these dreams where I was running down the street and I knew I could fly, and I started flapping my wings madly, and sometimes in the dream I could actually take off and you'd find yourself soaring, but it was this feeling of I've got to keep focused here. If I don't focus, I'm going to fall, you know. And it is that feeling, you get a nice day, you're all laid out at the hillside, you kind of take off and you just swoop into the air like a bird, and you just, this amazing rush of adrenaline as you just take off and fly across the ground, and the further out you go, the higher you get. You're looking for thermal, you're looking for lift, you want to try and pick yourself up the hillside. You get a number of emotions. Yeah, sometimes taking off is a bit of adrenaline high, but once you're up in the middle of the sky, you're sitting there. There's no adrenaline rush. You're just sitting there. You just feel wind in your face. It's like literally sitting in a swing, wind blowing your face, okay? Okay, you look down, you're 500 feet off the ground, so whoa! I think the spiritual nature of it is when you look around and maybe the sun might be setting, the colour in the sky is changing, the colour of the ground below. You think, wow, this is an amazing experience. This is something which you cannot pay money for this experience. You're feeling this total at one with nature. You are a speck of dust in this sky. You're nothing, and you're sitting there, and it's like you're experiencing. That's spiritual.